Welcome to Big Hoss's Tailgate.
All right, take two.
Take two. I always prefer a second take myself. So this is perfect for the listeners at home who don't know that we already tried to do this
Yeah,
another
I
time.
mean, I think they're used to it by now because how many times I can't remember like during like I've said that during a podcast. It's like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm still figuring this out.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Yeah, no, it is. It's good to figure things out on the job sometimes. Because
Yeah,
sometimes if you spend too much time planning, like I do think it's good to plan in advance, but at a certain point, it's good to just rip the band-aid off and get in there.
yep. I mean, that's what everyone like. I kept saying like, oh, I want to do a podcast, but I kept saying I wanted to do things right and do
Yeah.
things a certain way. And like my one buddy was just like, listen, just go do it. Like stop,
Mhm.
just go ahead and do it. He goes, if it sucks, it doesn't matter. At least you're trying.
Yeah. And I think the thing where it's like some of my favorite podcasts, like the first 10 episodes, the audio will be shit. It'll be so
Mhm.
unstructured and chaotic. And then it's like you tune into like episode 500 and whatever, and it's like, oh, this is a completely different show. Like just, I mean, yeah, it's like with anything, it over time will evolve, I think, as
Yeah.
you
So
keep at it.
I should probably introduce you. This
Oh,
is
sure.
Jamie Schreiner, like the
Hi, everybody.
hospital.
But
Um,
not related, but yes,
yeah.
said like that, spelled like that. So.
Yeah, I never knew what those were. I just knew it from the one funny song that Ray Stevens had. The was it the Shriners Convention?
I will say I'm not familiar with his work. That's on me.
Oh no,
I think
no,
I
no,
was,
no, no. That's fine. Nobody knows who that is. That isn't like 60.
yeah, I was gonna say like that's a little bit of a deep cut for me, but no, yeah, I just know about the Shriners just because the red hats. The red hats is what I'm aware of
Ah,
more
okay.
than more than the song. But
Yeah.
I do I think I said last time we recorded this, which was a few moments ago,
Yes.
that I did a gig for the Shriners. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, and I didn't know until I got there that it was the Shriners because it was like a Kiwanis club or like a Lions club, and a bunch of the
Yeah.
members were Shriners. So it's like kind of ironic because they were like, "Oh, are you related?" And I was like, "No, I'm sorry to let you
Yeah.
down." But
Yeah, I never knew what they were. I just knew they were the guys that wore the hats. I'm like, so what's the deal with this? Like, it's just kind of
yeah,
weird.
I was like, I feel bad because I still don't fully know or understand what it is, but good for them. They seem like they're having fun.
Yeah, they're like a
Can't be
motorcycle
mad at.
club without like the dangers, I guess.
Yeah, it reminds me of like if like the like chess club got T-bird jackets, but they were red hats. And we're just like, we're just gonna get in, we're just gonna get after
Yeah, no one respects the chess club. Like everybody's like, "Oh
it.
yeah, we know they're smart, but like that's why we don't respect them." Like it's fine.
Yeah. But like honestly, I feel like I have mixed feelings about chess because I feel traumatized by chess because one of my exes was really into chess. But I also understand, like, I do respect, like, it's a fucking hard game. It is a very difficult game. So it's
Uh,
like, I feel bad that we didn't respect them more. We should have, because honestly, they were playing chess while we were playing mere checkers the whole time.
oh wow, dang.
Yeah.
So he was like, instead of him being a checkmate, he was an X-mate. That was for me. That was for me. I'm
Say
sorry.
that.
Some of these cheesy jokes are just meant for me. I don't care.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh no, it glitched out again.
No,
Oh, now we're back.
it wasn't the chess. That's Yeah, the chess was not the issue. The chess
Ah.
was not the issue. It was other things that were
Oh,
the
I'm sure. I'm sure.
yes.
Yeah, they mostly
As
most of the time in relationships, it's never like, oh yeah, the guy was just really into Star Wars. Like, no, there's other factors.
yeah. But I will say a lot of the people that are now blocked on everything were really into Star Wars. That does seem to be a through line. I think that might be a red flag for me now. I
Oh,
know it's a huge franchise. I know it is, and it's one of those things that it's like I do feel sad because I also love Star Wars, but it's like there's a pattern here.
yeah.
Something is happening
Maybe you need to
with.
start. Maybe you need to date a Trekkie.
That's what I'm wondering. Is it a Trekkie thing, or do I need to just like go to a whole different like part of science fiction? Like, is it like the space part that made us need space? You know, I
Ah,
tried to with the checkmate when I tried to.
okay. I see what you were doing there. I see
I,
what you were doing. I see what you were doing.
I was trying to match the energy. I really was. I was. That was one that I now will listen back to this and again be like, but yeah, I will say, like, what's your favorite? What is? I love how I'm asking you a question when you're the host. What is your favorite Star Wars character?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would like. I mean, Han Solo is like every guy's favorite because he's like the cool guy, whatever.
I hate that motherfucker. But yeah, anyway, that is
I mean, I loved Luke until
fair.
like the new movies. They ruined him in the new movies, but
Yeah, the new movies. I do agree that they messed it up. But yeah, I still Han Solo. I think Han Solo is a little baby back bitch in my humble opinion because
ooh,
for somebody that you clearly love to look you in the eyes and say I love you and you to just say back I know because you're that afraid of vulnerability and
it
that
was the
avoidant,
'80s. Come on.
you're I don't care what decade it was. I don't care what planet it was. You're a baby back bitch. You're a
He's just
baby
like, my
back
homies are all here. I can't look
bitch.
like a bitch right now.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly why
And her dad was standing right there.
I'm sorry, he cared more about impressing um like men of different species than the woman that he loved. Like he is a baby back bitch. He's a
That
baby back bitch.
that's
And
fair.
I would take Leia off his hands in a heartbeat.
That's
In
fair.
a heartbeat. I got you. I got you. And I'll tell her I love you back. Because I'm not a baby back bitch. Okay? That's
Okay, I think I dude found out my favorite Star Wars character, and it's the guy that was in just from Justified that was in Mandalorian.
ah crap. Yeah, no, that's a good one. I
Yeah,
was
because
thinking
that dude
old
was
school.
just like, that's who I want to be in Star Wars. Like, I just want to be a cowboy. It'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
I will say, like, my favorite as a child was Jar Jar Binks, just because I like that he was obnoxious, but the accent has not aged well. He's like, I mean, there's many things as an adult that I'm like,
You were one of
oh
the
no.
kids that George Lucas pulled and be like, should we introduce a fish guy into the in the
I was like,
movie?
yes.
Kids loved him. It's just that like when you watch the movie as an adult, you're like, oh God, I hate this guy.
Yeah, no. But as a child, I fucking loved Jar Jar Binks. I had a folder or it was a notebook or a folder, and
Uh-huh.
in either third or fifth grade, third through fifth, one of those years, I did get a Jar Jar Binks folder or notebook. And a lot of my classmates were like, oh, he was so annoying. And I was like, I loved that character. I thought he was so funny. So
That's
that's
fair.
me. Yeah. But yeah,
I,
now as an adult, I'm like, okay, he is
did,
kind of annoying and the accent's a lot.
did you ever see what happened to Jar Jar in the comics or like in the books or whatever?
No, I did not. What happens?
He
What
does
is
not
his
have a
fate?
good ending. Like he's basically like begging on the street for like money, food and stuff. Like yeah, it's actually really sad.
That's really sad. No, I didn't
Yeah.
know about any of that.
Like the Star Wars fandom like made him have the worst like thing that could happen to him happen. That's how much they hate that character.
That's so sad. Because it's like, I mean, it just shows it can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
Housing security, we don't have it. You know,
Yeah.
it could have even who among us is any different from Jar Jar Binks? Next thing you know, one day you're solidifying a divide between people. The next day you're begging for food. You know, you
Yeah.
just
That's true. I mean, I think it's just because he like simped for the bad guys really hard.
yeah. And I think honestly, probably the simping for the bad guys is part of why the fans don't like him. But
Yeah.
whereas for me as a kid, I definitely always was like devil's advocate for the bad guys, and that's something that we are trying to unlearn as an adult. Because it's like,
Ah,
but what did they say to them before they got their ass beat? Like that. That was always how I was seeing things.
That's fair. That's a fair choice. Like, because I'm like the whole time, like when I'm watching the new movies, I'm like, ooh, what did Kylo Ren do? And I'm like, it's kind of justified. You did try to kill him in
Yeah.
the sleep. I'd be pissed too.
Yeah, I do love all the like I feel like the new movies and TV shows that are coming out, there's like this huge I don't want to say resurgence because I feel like it's a newer thing, but it's the thematically trying to redeem the bad guys. Like I think of that one Spider-Man movie and like now Mufasa coming. Like it's all of these like extensions of a franchise where we're like, let's look at their dark lore that made them evil bad guys. And it's like,
You're just making a lot of toxic relationships.
I mean, but that's what they're doing. That's what the industry's doing because they're running out. I mean, they run out of ideas, and so they're like, what can we do with this thing that we
Yeah.
already have? But it is a lot of like, they're not so bad. They're just human, and it's like, child Jamie would have loved it. I would have loved it because I really do. I think I do always feel interested in like the humanity of a character, like why they do what they do, even
Yeah.
the fucked up ones. But yeah, sometimes some people just are actively choosing evil, and those people maybe we should let them
Yeah.
go over there
Just let that
with
guy be
that.
the bad guy. Just let him do his thing. Like, don't be Joker and Harley. Just let the Joker do his thing.
Yeah, and don't accept like or not don't like create some like oh but this happened and it just like it doesn't justify what they're doing now. Like it's
Yeah.
like we can put our hands up and say like whatever tragic movie we want to make of the Joker's origin story. If you think of like the the Joker movie where he like blew up the boat or the bus, like that was never okay.
Yeah.
That
Don't
was
just
not
say he was
nice.
misunderstood. No, that man was crazy.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
literally not well,
Yeah.
unwell.
I
And
remember seeing that movie in theaters though. That was an interesting experience.
because was it the so did you see the new one in theaters then?
Which one? The new Joker or the
Yeah, because the thing is, I'm talking about the Batman movie where with Heath Ledger. I think that's what I was referring
Yeah.
to.
That's what
With like,
I seen that one in theaters when it came out.
yes, I was gonna say I saw that one in theaters. The newer one with the tragic backstory, I watched it because my dad insisted it was so amazing and I needed to see it. And I was like, that's several hours of my life I'll never get back. It was like it like honestly, I think with the newer one, there's so many men that I've interacted with, specifically the people who troll me online, who like give that vibe that it was
Ooh.
just uncomfortable for me to watch as somebody who like has met that kind of like incel like that vibe. I was just like, oh, this is rough. This is a rough watch for me. But I mean, yeah, it's like they're trying to give us the background as to why he did the things that like the Heath Ledger character ends up doing, and because it's like I know that that's like an older movie, but I know that it's in chronological order of things later. That's the thing that's really confusing about these lore movies is that they're supposed to be way in the past, but they're happening now when like the movies that are more in the future happen in the past. It's too much for my brain.
Yep, that's fair. I totally get that. Like that one, it was like I have to like treat it like because I'm a comic book nerd, I have to break it up, and I'm like, all right, this one, like with all the current stuff with all the superheroes, I acknowledge that this is the main thing we're looking at, and then there's like the Elseworld stuff that's like, okay, we're gonna do a strange story, but it's off by itself and it's not attached to anything, but like it'll have the
Yeah.
same people in it, it just won't be the same. It's I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, I feel like again it's a thing where it's like I just think that they want to cut corners and do things as easily as possible, and I think that that's what happens when you let these like large, massive corporations um, capitalize on creativity rather than
Yeah,
like letting creative people make new stuff. Because the thing is, like, even even if we were gonna like, oh, we're gonna breathe new life into this old thing, like, there's a way to do it that isn't just like we're gonna do this same thing over and over again, like in a way that's so formulaic. It's almost like AI wrote it, even though it's like maybe they did write some of it, but like supposedly that's not supposed to be the case yet, but it is. It becomes so.
Yeah, I think that's why AI can write things because it's like, oh, there's clearly a pattern here. But if you give it like hey, write a Christopher Nolan movie, it's like, well, yeah, this
Yeah,
guy jumps around a lot. I don't know how we make this into a movie. And I'm like, see, that's why AI has no business writing stuff.
yeah, and it's like I think it's more so. I guess what I'm talking about is it's like I don't think AI could write as like if they're like the AI could try, of course, but if you're like write something in the style of this specific creative, I don't think that that would be possible. But it's like with these franchises, I do think it's possible over time, the more it develops for them to write for these franchises, which does make me sad and like bummed out because I think because they care more about making money than making something new, it will save them money to use this to do the same fucking time, you know. And I know this is not really funny or cool to talk about, but it's like I do think it's cool to talk about. It's not funny, is what I meant. Like I know this is a comedy podcast and this is a more serious topic,
Eh,
but um, yeah, I just really feel like with off and I say like franchises within entertainment, I'm talking like like the superheroes and Star Wars, etc., etc. But it's like it's with everything, like everything that I think gets franchised. There's something that these corporations saw in it inherently that was appealing that made them go, we can make a shit ton of money off of this. Let's bring it under our umbrella, and then yeah, it just it becomes more of a commodity of what it originally was. The longer that the corporate overlords have their teeth in it, and
yeah,
it's as a creative person a huge bummer to see. But
yeah. Do you have anything that you like are working on creatively? Because I know, first of all, I mean, you are a stand-up comedian. That's how we met at
ugh,
one of the Don't Tell shows, and then we went to a Chapel Roan. I said it right this time. That's
you
points for me.
did.
We went to a Chapel Roan party in Pittsburgh, and it was very weird for me because, like,
It's funny you say that because for me, it was probably
yeah,
one of my favorite nights out in 2024. I loved that. But yeah, I understand it was like, it was a very like femme, very queer space. They were
yeah,
playing a bunch of, I mean, yeah, they were playing like Chaperone song after Chaperone song after Chaperone song, a little Beyonce here and there. But it was for the girls and the gays and the days. That was
right.
the vibe of the establishment. And I mean, honestly, I hope that I come to Pittsburgh while they have a similar thing happening again. I know that they have like different theme nights in that particular bar every single time, but to just stumble into Chapel Roan night was like I came at the right time. I came the correct weekend to come.
Yeah, I was
Um,
just it's just one of those things where it's like this isn't my thing, but hey, good for everybody here having fun. That's the way I looked at it. Like I don't care, I'm having fun.
yeah, that's a good attitude to have. I feel like
Yeah.
that's it makes me think of like so like this the Super Bowl just happened and like I am going to talk about this is I'm ADHD so I'm just going to jump to this quickly and then I'm going to say what I'm working on creatively. But um for me it's such a huge red flag the people who didn't like the halftime show because and I know like by the time that this airs this will have been beaten like a dead horse so I just want to
Oh yeah.
quickly say like it's one thing for something to not be your thing but for it to not be your thing doesn't mean that it's bad. Like I'm like even with the franchise stuff that I was talking about,
Yeah.
I'm saying that it's bad for creatives. I do not think that the general mass public is going to have a problem with getting fed the same thing that they love and they're used to. They're going to enjoy it and good for them because that makes them happy. I think people should do what makes them happy as long as it's not hurting anybody else, right?
Right.
But part of that is like with the halftime show, not everything's for you. That doesn't mean it's bad.
I enjoyed the halftime
It
show and
was,
I
it
know
was
it wasn't for me cuz I'm like they still haven't put a country artist as the halftime show. So I know it's not for me. But I
yeah,
mean, regardless, I loved it. I was just like, wow, this was actually like really cool the way it was done and I was like I would hate to be Drake because that man just had an entire stadium call him a pedophile.
yeah. And honestly, I loved it. And the thing is, like, I will say I was a fan of When he played Jimmy on Degrassi,
Hmm.
loved that, Aubrey. Um, but yeah, I just feel like he's become more and more just of a little fucking shit. And so it's like I really appreciated seeing him put in his place. Um, yeah, because just even like I think back to like when he had the friendship with Millie Bobby Brown years ago, like that was so weird
Yeah, that's
and
a weird
icky.
one. Like, anytime a celebrity wants to be friends with a kid, I'm like, because, like, okay, deep down, we all would want that. But now looking back on it, like, thank God none of us had that.
Well, yeah, and the thing too is it's I maybe understand. Like this is the only context where I could maybe see it making sense. Like if you were playing like if you were on a Disney Channel show and you're the parent and like if you're Raven on the That's So Raven reboot, you're probably going to develop some kind of a relationship with the kids who are playing your literal children. But
Right.
that doesn't mean that but even then, even in that context, you don't text children, you don't hang out with children. You're an adult. Like that's not appropriate. So it's just like yeah, and it's just this is just me as like somebody who's like been a babysitter and educator for like over 10 years. It's just like there are boundaries and lines that you do not cross as an adult. And the fact that he has flagrantly and very publicly crossed those, I do believe the rumors are true.
Oh
I
yeah.
absolutely believe the rumors are true. And that's why
I mean,
I
Diddy. The rumors were true. Look at I will never look at what's his name oh, I can't remember his name. Justin Bieber. I can never look at Justin Bieber the same now. Because, like, once you look at the interviews, you're like, oh, Diddy did some bad things to him. Like, whether he'll admit it or not, you just feel like there was some awkward moments. And I'm like,
oh
ooh,
yeah, it's like it's one of those things that's like I don't think that we will ever get to know, or if we do, it has to be when you know what I mean. Like it's nobody owes us an account of their traumatic experience, even if
right.
they are like as famous as Justin Bieber. But it's like, yeah, no, that's a bad man, and it's like I feel like Drake is like the moment where, and I know everybody's just him deciding to say the name, knowing he probably will get sued again,
Yeah, I
was
like when he
just
smiled when he said it and looked at the camera. I'm
it's
like, that grin. My buddy said it best. It goes, it was like watching the Grinch. Like, he just had a smile on his face so big. And I was like, that is the best way to describe that smile. Every time I look at it, it's like, oh, it's the Grinch.
and it made me I mean yeah it made me so happy beyond all of the beef between them because I don't want to spend too much time talking about a pedophile and a horrible person
Yeah.
like I I did want to touch on it and we did but I also just want to say like artistically like having Samuel L. Jackson play Uncle Sam and like the revolution will be televised you picked the right time but the wrong guy like all these little moments were just like he's a genius like he's a genius
Yeah.
artistically he had such a beautiful story and storytelling in his like and he didn't have to do it it's the Super Bowl he could have just done the hits and got out of there he gave us story he gave us imagery he gave us like what we wanted which was for him to drag Drake's ass so my point being for somebody to watch that even if it's not their thing and not see the work the dedication to the craft that went into it like you have bad taste like that's just how it is like just you have bad taste to watch that and not at least say I can see why because the thing is it's like I said to you I'm not a fan of country music that's not my wheelhouse but like I can look at the greats like Dolly Parton and you know Reba, and I can look at their body of work and their dedication to the craft and go, yeah, like that's really good art. That's a really good
Yeah.
example of this genre of this thing. Um,
See, that's
so
what
yeah,
that's what connects me to different genres. If someone can show me a standout performance, like, for instance, like, let's say you're not a Queen fan, just go watch the Live Aid concert.
yeah,
Tell me you're not a fan after that. Like,
mm-hmm.
like I said, there's different things you can tell people. Like, I mean, like, for instance, if somebody's not a country fan, you just send them to Chris Stapleton singing the national anthem. Or I always say there's a performance with Willie Nelson and Casey
Which
Musgraves that
yeah,
it's
Willie is
just
amazing too.
ooh.
Willie is, I mean, Willie Nelson is like unfucking touchable. Like one of the greatest artists, live performers of all time. Like that was one. I was sitting here and I was trying to list the country artists I know that I'm truly impressed by and inspired by, and I was like, I mean, yeah, for me, Dolly and Reba are going to come to mind immediately because I grew up like with Reba on TV, you know. But it's like, yes, Willie is like top of his game,
Oh yeah.
incredible.
Because
As
I
is
mean, he
Casey
can make
Musgraves.
silly songs, and then he can also just rip your heart out and be like, "How's that feel?"
How you like that?
Yeah, especially with him and Ray Charles together. Yeah, him and Ray
Just beautiful.
Charles is like the best.
No, it is the best, and I feel like it's one of those things where
Hang on. So yeah,
we're back, woohoo!
so okay, you are a stand-up comedian based out of Chicago,
Yes, can you still
but
see me? I'm so sorry.
yeah, I can see you.
Okay, I am based out of Chicago. Yes, that's true.
Yes. So like, when did you start doing stand-up?
So I started doing stand up in like 2016, 2017. I just got done with grad school and I had written a one woman show and I was trying to workshop my one woman show and just get people to come see it. And I met a bunch of comedians because I would do these variety show showcases. And every time I did the showcases, I was always really bummed out because I didn't meet a lot of women who were doing stand up. They existed. I just like feel like at the time, especially like back then, there was only like one woman booked per show.
Yeah, you're like,
And
a lot of dudes here.
yeah, and it kind of made me be like, I want to give this a try because I think more, you know, more people should be getting on stage with different points of view so that the shows are more interesting rather than hearing the same type of point of view every single, you know, act. And yeah, I just immediately loved it. And I kind of just like hit the ground running after that. I, you know, went through a lot of different phases as far as like just writing stand up or adding songs to my stand up. Because those of you who are listening don't know me, I do incorporate songs in my stand up. And I think it was kind of just like a journey with like with myself getting comfortable with doing the songs, just because it's not really, you know, traditional stand up to have music, but it's just, you know, part of who I am and what I bring to my storytelling is having those songs.
Yeah,
Um,
I've met some comedian like people that they hate music and stand up for some reason. I'm like, why? Like, I love like music. Like, one of my favorite
yeah.
comedians was Rodney Carrington, who would do funny
I mean,
songs in his stand up. Like,
and I get it. Like, I hate when I see a lineup with no women on it. So it's like, you know, we all have our things that
yeah,
bother us. Um, so it's like, but with musical comedy, I do honestly like to give them credit. I do think that there's a lot of musical comedy that is quite bad because a lot of times it does like musical comedy. I think it does tend to attract this special kind of person that like is both bad at comedy and bad at music, but has the extreme hubris to say, I'm just going to do both.
yeah,
And, you know, I think not every song I write is going to be perfect and amazing. And a lot of times I work on stuff for a long time before I am really happy with it. But I do think people don't realize like musical comedy is quite hard in terms of like the chorus, like the part of the song that repeats, has to heighten each time. The joke has to change or heighten, or the song like imagine if you got on stage and you said the same punchline 3 or 4 times, it would not hit. So
yeah,
it's like I think where a lot of musical comedians sell themselves short is they're not thinking about, oh, I need to heighten this joke. Like the joke needs to like it just needs to change. Something needs to change or it needs to grow or build, you know, musically with the
yeah.
words. However you want to do it, but it's like you can't just repeat this, like you can't repeat the same punchline 3 times or it gets,
Okay,
you know, unfunny because it's like yeah, an actual stand up. And I'm not saying that musical comedians aren't actual stand up. A traditional stand up is what I mean.
yeah,
A traditional stand up would not get on stage and say the same punchline, you know, 3 times in a row. Maybe they would call back
yeah,
later on, but they had to build to earn that moment. They had to build to that callback. So it's like within the context of 2 minutes, you got to earn the ability to do the same thing twice, you know?
yeah. That's
So,
fair.
yeah, so
I
that's
do
just
like
that.
the I like the from what I saw at Don't Tell, I liked it. I was like, wow, this is
Thank you.
I wasn't expecting this, and I kind of dig it. Like, it's something different.
Thank you. And I will say, like, honestly, I fully accept and I'm comfortable with the reality that like I am not for everyone. Like I know that I'm not, but I have been really, really excited to get the compliment from people of I normally hate musical comedy, but I really loved your set. So
Yeah.
it's like that. That's kind of who I'm trying to appeal to musical comedy fans as well as people who normally hate musical comedy. Like I'm kind of trying to be musical comedy for everybody. Like, because I do think sometimes more traditional musical comedy is geared towards a certain demographic of people and it can leave the general public out of the joke.
Yeah.
You know, if the jokes are too specific to one niche crowd, it can make people feel left out. I try to just like use different genres of music and funny fucking lyrics to joke about dumb shit I did or like a silly idea that popped into my mind. Um, but yeah, because I'm a Leo, like most of the stuff I write is about me. I'm not like writing as a character or writing about something else. It's like this silly thing happened to me. Let me make it into a song. Or like this really annoys me. Let me make it into a song.
So like Taylor Swift with a sense of humor.
I have gotten the Taylor Swift comment a lot, and I don't hate it. If I ever had that much money, hand on my heart, I would hope that I would give more of that money back to the community and the people that I care about and the organizations I care about. Because that's one thing is like, I like her music. I grew up listening to her music. Taylor Swift, like, because I know this stuff will get leaked and people will come for my throat that are fans of her. I'm critical
They
of
come for me. I don't care.
yeah, my thing is like I'm critical of anybody who has $1 billion. Anybody who has $1 billion or more, that is what I'm critical of because that's so much money. And it's like I get that she's paying her team. I get that but she also has a legal team that she's paying to go after her fans and cease and desist them if they make, merchandise inspired by her. Even if it's like they designed it themselves, if it has her likeness on it, they get like threat of being sued. So it's like
Yeah.
that is where I'm like, at a certain point, like, how much money do you need? You have a lot. And something I don't, and the thing is, like, I don't know if this is factually true, but like, um, I think like her first on stage appearance, her dad paid for. So in a
I
way,
That's why I
like,
heard that too.
it's like Nepo baby stuff too, where it's like, you know, I don't think if anything, a lot of people are like, oh, you're like not supporting women to be critical. I'm critical of anybody that's a billionaire. Women, men, they, them, everybody with $1 billion or more. Like Bezos, he's up next because what the hell? I can't even talk about Musk right now without getting upset. Like
He does. He does kind of have. Bezos kind of gives me Lex Luthor vibes of
yeah,
over all the like billionaires. Like he looks like the character. Like if there was a Superman and he started building robots, I'd get concerned real quick.
yeah. Well, and the thing is like I think that people don't understand because like especially like pop culture girlies and people who are like big fans of um Taylor will like make memes of like, Taylor say it's like Taylor has had every opportunity in the past to like speak out on some of these serious political issues or like donate more money or just stand for anything at all other than herself. And she's never done that. Like
Yeah.
she put out a documentary about how she wanted to be more vocal about liberal stuff after the fact, after Trump had already been elected the first time. And it's like that's not like it's too late. Like saying that you wanted to do that, but you let your dad tell you no. Like at a certain point, you're in your 30s. Like my dad tells me not to do shit all the time, and I do it anyway because I'm a fucking adult. So
Yeah.
it's like
My parents have recently voiced their disapproval of me doing stand up, and I was
yeah,
just like, I get it.
yeah. So I guess like where I'm at is it's just like at a certain point, like you are in control of what your values are and what you care about.
Yeah.
And for me, if you care about making as much money as possible more than you care about your fellow man, I think that's fucking weird. Whatever identity you are.
Yeah.
And
I've always felt like I wanted to make enough money that I was taken care of, and I want to be able to help my friends along with it.
I agree with that. That's
Like,
pretty much my mindset as well.
yeah, like basically, like, hey, if the podcast does well, that's like that. Just I bring all my friends back on. That gives them more exposure to see what they do. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, honestly, yeah, I, am not living anyone else's life. I can't say too much about what I would do in situations that I've never been in and I can't relate to, but I would like to hope that if I ever had that level of money and status, I would pay it back because I've known what it's like to be fucking broke and I've known what it's like to not know where your next meal's coming from. And so that's really just what I have a problem with. People who have that much money and I don't feel like they're using their voice and their vote to really help those less fortunate than them.
That's fair. That's a solid take.
Mhm.
So how long you been
I think
doing? So how long you been doing stand up for? Because I know you said like
so like this will be my eighth year this year.
eighth year. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, I love it. I really do love it so much. I feel like I never answered your question of what creative projects I'm working on right now because I do have
I
unmedicated
was going to circle
ADHD.
back.
So thank you so much. But that being said, I was going to say I'm really excited because this year I'm working on a concept album. I'm working on music um, that is basically like the whole point with the music is that I have 5 songs and they're like kind of funny, kind of sincere, but each one represents one of the 5 stages of grief as they pertain to like some heartbreak that I dealt with in the past 2 years. And the songs are going to be interluded with voicemails that they're not the actual voicemails, but they're based on voicemails I received during this time in my life. And I'm going to make like the whole thing is going to be like all the songs in order of music video. So like a short film. I would compare it to like Tierra Whack Whack World, Beyonce Lemonade, just like something where it's like you can see the whole song as an album, like as a all the songs, the whole album as like a short film.
Oh,
And
dope.
I'm really excited. I've never done anything like this. I've done a lot of, like I put my album out last year, first live comedy taping. Um, and, I've released singles, but I've never done like a full studio produced any music at all, let alone, like an album. So, yeah, I'm really excited to get that done. The songs are all recorded. My friend Steve is just, mixing and mastering them now. And I'm going to be like, I think my first shoot date for the video component is February 23rd. So I'm shooting like all the scenes over the next 3 months, hoping to be completely done and wrapped on filming by the end of April. And then it's just kind of just, yeah, like waiting for everything to get edited together so I can release it. So really, really excited. It's something that I've been thinking about doing for like over a year now and like started the recording process last summer. So yes, it's nice to see it start to kind of finally start to come together. Yeah, I'm still feeling bad, but it's funny because this is the second podcast I've done in a 2-week period where somebody's brought up Taylor Swift and I've harped on the billionaire thing. And it's one of those things I'm like, this is going to haunt me in the future. But I like, it's going to haunt me, but I said what I said and I do,
There's
I
nothing
do
wrong
think,
with saying that. I feel like I don't think it should haunt anybody. Like that's just like, hey, this is what I think you should do, but whether you do it or not, that's on you.
yeah.
That's just
And
what
I think
I would
it's,
do with what you have.
yeah. And I'm pretty much, I mean, I'm critical of like any billionaire at all. But yes, back to creative projects. That's the main thing I'm working on. And I'm trying to think of anything. Yeah, I'm just like, continuing to tour throughout this, next few months and into the spring. I really want to come back to Pittsburgh in I think June or July is what I'm looking at. I haven't. I love how I'm saying this when I haven't actually asked anybody with the Don't Tell team like what date. But I'm like in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, this would be a good time to go. And I feel like when I get closer to those months, that's when I'll reach out. But
What's your favorite place to like tour?
My favorite place to tour. That's really hard. There's a lot of places I love. I love Nashville to the point where like
Oh, I do love that.
I've even considered like moving to Nashville because I love Nashville so much.
I'm currently on the fence whether I want to go to Austin or Nashville.
That's for me, it's Nashville through and through. But I do think Austin, a lot of people enjoy Austin. For me, I think other than Nashville, love Atlanta, love Denver, and Fort Collins, which is like an hour outside of Denver. The Comedy Fort there is amazing, and I get to go to Fort Collins to see my aunt and uncle, who I love. New York City is like it's just everything is happening all the time. I feel like every time I go to New York, I need 3 or 4 days to just lay down and rest after because it's just like.
Oh yeah, that's I only been to New York like once, and that was just like this past year.
Oh my
And I was like, holy, we went to an Irish bar and got super drunk
gosh.
and then like wandered around New York City. I didn't know where I was. I was like, this is wild to me. Like this is just
Yes.
like it
It's
felt
like what?
crazy.
Yeah, no, it is like nuts. I will say, so Pittsburgh, when I did the shows with you, that was my first time going to Pittsburgh, like full stop, period.
Oh wow.
Um, and so it's like I loved it. I had such a fun weekend. So Pittsburgh, I'm excited to go back because it's like I said, it's just my first time going, and I'm just starting to get the vibe of that. I would say cities that I love for the sake of like I love the city. Being in that city gives me happiness and joy. Philadelphia and New Orleans.
Oh,
Like
okay.
those are
See, I've never
places.
been to New York. I've never been to New Orleans.
Yeah, I'm just like saying like those are cities where it's like I could go and like 3 people could come to the show and the show could be like it's less about the comedy and more about I
I get to
fucking
be
love those cities. Yeah, I love walking around Philly. I love in New Orleans like going and seeing there's like an art garden. It's like a bunch of sculptures by the New Orleans like art museum.
hmm
And every time I visit New Orleans, I go walk around. Like it is like honestly, they don't change the sculpture very often, so it's like I don't know why I always go back because it's like I've seen it, but I love going. So it's like yeah, there's certain places that it's like I will take shows there because I love going to that place. Um, which is probably again an example of I am less about profits and more about vibes. Like I'm like,
Okay.
oh, if the people here are really good and this is like a good time, I'm less concerned, and that's probably why I will, um, things will take longer for me because I'm not, too worried about that part.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
but
I went to Philly once and I seen the Rocky statue, which I that's all I cared about. I was like, I want to do that and run up the steps and be done. And
yeah,
then I did that and was just kind of like, okay, it wasn't as cool as I thought it was. But there was a rally happening that day. I was like, so what? I asked this one guy, like, I walking by, I was like, hey man, so what's all this about? He goes, they're trying to get rid of the middle class. And I was like, cool, and just walked away. Like I had no idea what was happening, but I was like, cool, all right. And my one buddy's like, what do you say? He goes, something about the middle class. I don't know what he's talking about. And we just walked away.
yeah, I'm just like neat.
Yeah, because it was just like it was a weird. I think it was like 2015 or something like that. We were out there,
Yeah.
not even realizing like, oh, yeah, we just showed up and was like, what's going on here? It looks like a rally.
Oh God, that's so. Ugh. I mean, that makes me think of one of my favorite tour stories is like I was doing gigs with Dante Powell in Louisiana, and we both had driven separately. And my car broke down in a town in the middle of nowhere in Mississippi. And
Ooh.
so Dante had to come pick me up because like they weren't going to be able to fix my car in time. I basically had to ditch my car in Mississippi for 6 weeks and then go back and get it. So that's like another fun part of the story was me going back to retrieve the car. But Dante and I, it was late enough that we were like hungry and we're like, let's grab dinner. And the only options in town were like this family restaurant and a Cracker Barrel. So we're like, well, let's go support the local business. It was a restaurant in an evangelical church in Mississippi. And so imagine like, me with this red hair, these glasses, and like I think I was in like a freaking rainbow sweater, walks in with like my big black friend Dante, and we were just like it was the most uncomfortable meal of my life. Like everyone was just staring daggers into our heads. The band was playing Jimmy Buffett cover songs. One of the guys in the band was like, "Hope you like the biscuits. They're softer than them liberals." And everybody like laughed. And we're just sitting there like, it was so awkward.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's good not to support the local business. That's all I'm saying. Like in hindsight,
Yeah.
we probably should have just gone
To the
to the
Cracker
national
Barrel.
chain. Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. That is, yeah.
that was a
Ooh.
rough one. And the food wasn't even good.
That's fair.
That's
That's
the
a,
thing that sucked. Like to experience that, and it's like the food didn't even taste good. I was like,
you're like, there's no soul in this. That's why you guys suck.
a little bit. It
Yeah.
was just yeah.
No, you have to have like influences come from like other people because if not, life is very boring. If you live in an echo chamber, it gets pretty boring after a while.
Yes. And I think, I mean, that's part of why, honestly, it's always been really important to me to like part of my plan with comedy was always that I wanted to tour because I like wanted my stuff to be funny, not just to people who are like-minded, but to everybody. Um, so yeah, I'm grateful for the opportunities I've had, even when I go places that I'm like, this is, oh, um, but yeah, yeah.
So where are you from originally at?
So I grew up in Indiana. It's like an hour outside of Chicago. And then, yeah, I have also lived in central Illinois, which where I went to undergrad. And then I lived in Scotland for 2 years when I was doing my master's. And then I've been in Chicago ever since. And I travel a lot. I tour a lot. So I
See,
don't feel like I'm like,
I would have skipped out in Scotland. I would have been like, I want to go to Ireland.
see, Scotland, it gets, less flowers than it deserves because it was truly an amazing experience. I loved living in Scotland because I lived in, so Glasgow is like the second largest city. I would say Glasgow is to Edinburgh, like what Chicago is to New York.
Can you do a
So
good
it's
Scottish accent?
not really. No,
I kept
I'm
waiting
so
for
sorry.
that.
Like I just tried to do it just then. I was like, no, because I think I had the bats of one when I was in college. Like even that is like not like this. No, I don't have it anymore. I used to be able to do it because I was around people who had a Scottish accent all the time. But um, yeah, I couldn't do it now unless I would have to like really sit down and like practice it a few. But it's like I absolutely I just loved it. And also like I mean, while I was in Scotland was when I found out I had hearing loss. So it's like it's one of those things I probably would have found out eventually, but like their accents, specifically in Glasgow, like specific to Glasgow, so thick that I couldn't understand what was happening in class to the point where I did go get a hearing test and found out that I had 90% hearing loss in both ears. And so it's like one of those things that's like, oh, I really do think like I was supposed to be there at that point in my life. Because like if I like I might have not
Probably would
caught
have never
it.
got your ears checked before.
And it could have gotten worse and worse. You know what I mean? Because it was just continuing to get worse the longer I was not doing something about it.
That's gotta be
So
weird, like trying to do like especially doing music, right? I mean,
yeah,
you
yeah.
can be
That's part of
blind and do
why
music, but like,
the hearing part's pretty important. I do think. I mean, that's part of why I always like really, really want to have outside ears listen to stuff. Like when I make, especially when I like mix stuff or try to make stuff on my own. I will always go to musical friends and be like, hey, how does this sound? And keep in mind, like, I can't fucking hear. So, like, I need very specific notes on what to fix so that I can get this where it needs to be. But yeah, I am somebody who, like, it's one of those things where it's like, I've had the hearing aids so long, I almost forget now what it was like before I had them. And it's like now I just make it work with what I have. I would say more so than the music, I struggle with like speech. I like really can't hear what people are saying most of the time.
oh yeah, because there's times I like when I get nervous, I turn into a very soft talker. So I'll be like, "Hey guys, how's it going? Nice to meet you." Yeah, I start doing that. Wow. Yeah, I couldn't tell because you don't have there's no way for me to get out of that. I'm just gonna let it die. But
That's fine. Yeah,
I
like
couldn't tell you were hard of hearing. I'm just gonna say that.
yeah. No, I was gonna say I think it's one of those things where like because I got diagnosed later in life, I like I don't know ASL and yeah, there's just certain things that like I'm not quite, you know, sharing the exact same experiences as my friends in the deaf community, but I also like I can't hear well. So it's like, yeah, I frustrate people who do have good hearing because they like have to keep repeating themselves a million times. But it's like people learn to be patient with me. And also I will say the bigger issue is like my ADHD makes it so sometimes it's not a hearing loss thing, it's a distraction thing that I'm just not listening.
No, my dad,
Um
growing up, my dad was hard of hearing, so I
yeah.
completely understand that. The bad part is that he would always hear the things I never wanted him to hear. I'm like, how come you can't hear any other time? But the one
It's
time I need you not to hear me swear when I hit myself,
suddenly
could you?
your hearing is
Yeah, and that's what he picks up. Would you say it? I'm like, really? Thanks, I
that's
appreciate it.
okay.
So
Okay, I was like, yeah. So I was like, I do have to go in a little bit as well. So if you said your battery's dying, so then we could maybe wrap up.
yeah,
Let
we
me
can wrap this
just,
up. Like I said,
okay,
whenever you come to town, we can actually like do a good
in
episode.
person. Yeah,
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 we can do a in person one because your thing will be out by then, right?
yeah. I think my thing will be out by then. Hopefully, that's the goal. So that'd be
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
appreciate you
but
coming
yeah,
on and
of
doing the
course.
episode.
No,
Um,
thank you so much for having me.
yeah,
Like,
I
oh,
could tell you're setting your phone like on a bottle or something, and it's slowly sliding off the table.
yeah,
Oh, I didn't realize I had my didn't have my microphone on. I
yeah. But
didn't.
now we got it. We're back. We're locked back in. But I do. It's like you said, and I said we have to say farewell soon.
Yes. So, yeah, I appreciate you coming on and everything. This was a blast. And yeah, I'd like I said, we could do one in person when you come back. Um, so yeah, if you
Mhm.
want to tell people where to find you at, I'll include the links in the episode description. But
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Jamie Shriner Sings. And YouTube, I think, is also Jamie Shriner Sings. And then just like if you just search Jamie Shriner, it should all come up. And definitely my big thing would be please join my mailing list, especially if you live outside of Chicago. Like if you live in Pittsburgh, for example, join my mailing list so that you can know when I'm coming back to Pittsburgh.
yeah, or
Yeah,
and also, but just buy tickets to Don't Tell. She might pop up.
I might be there. You never know.
Yep. So, all right, yeah, I think it's a good time to wrap everything up. So,
Awesome.
again, thanks for
Thank
coming on.
you. Of course, thanks for having me. Have a great rest of your day. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.